Okay, so this is a few weeks later, and I just got my first dose of the vaccination, which I'm super grateful for. Please get vaxxed, by the way. Don't. Okay, so yesterday I've been done with the Raven King, and yeah, this is my study table, so I'm just too lazy to set it up just for a reading update. Okay, so I'm done with the Raven King and 30% into the King's Men because it was so good I couldn't stop reading or listening on audiobook. Okay, this was all I had for the Foxhole Court, but this are my thoughts on the Raven King. Obvious spoilers for the Foxhole Court if you haven't read it, but you're here, so I don't really know what to tell you. So Andrew came out. I was not expecting that. I think I distinctly mentioned that he gave me homophobic vibes on the previous segment on the Foxhole Court, and that was a whiplash, and that I was not expecting that, but it is such a good surprise. Oh my goodness. I want him to be my boyfriend. Okay, as for the Foxhole Court, I think I've made my mind 2.5 or 3 stars because even though the world or the setting and the themes really well, it just didn't do enough for me to enjoy it as a book. And obviously, as I mentioned, it is the whole thing is very well intentioned, because most times you would see an author kind of wrapping things up in the first book. They're not fortunate enough to get green-lighted for the series by the publishers, but I think the author just knew what they were doing, and I really appreciate that. But the first book, it just didn't do much for me. But second book, though, it's gonna be a 4 stars because of reasons. I liked it very much. I liked it a lot better than book 1, and so far in book 3, The King's Men, I am liking it. It's getting better and better, which these are just some points, so I'm still rambling, but with some sense in here. Please stay patient. And don't mind the background, I was just too lazy to set it up. As for Neil as a main character, his story has just progressed a bit. It's not just as far as progressed, you just get more of a fitting character because you just get to know him as a person the more the author just drops a tidbit of his personal information of his past. I just really like how Neil has been such an unreliable character with his half-truths and outright lies. That was something I really liked. So I really liked Neil as a character, but Andrew so far is still my favorite. A lot happened on the second... Okay, a lot happened on the second book of the trilogy, but the story structure has been just so predictive, like, oh, something's happening. I can feel a twist coming. You wouldn't have this problem if you're not as well read on what's a story structure and whatnot, but if you're familiar with it, I think the author just follows this to the T, and it can just cushion some of your emotions because you just know what to or when to anticipate a twist or a turn. And so the only surprises you can get are the characters themselves, which they've been done really well. But speaking of the characters, I really love how the foxes are handled with their traumatic past and how reserved they are. I'd like to say that they express themselves through sanitized emotions or in a sanitized way, because even though they're so supportive of one another and they have this camaraderie, but still each of them are so lonely in an essence. It just makes them feel so real and it's so relatable, because even if you have your friends and your support network, but still there are just some things that you still keep to yourself if you have been through something. And I just kind of felt seen. I don't know what that says about my life. Moving on. So basically, their reactions to the events of the books have been really logical and it just makes sense.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with.
There was this one quote that stuck with me. I think it was Dan. Oh, right. First, Neil said it, but then Allison regurgitated it after a major character death. If people got what they deserved, they wouldn't be foxes. And that just got to the core of what the foxes are really about and what the team as a group of people were, how they were united. It's basically just what unites these characters, and that's a quote that really stuck with me. And it just got to the core of it just got to the meat of the matter. Okay, most times I've seen the athletes, the profession of the athletes are shown in fiction as just simply that their only work is in the field and then that's that, except for one book I think, but I don't really remember which book. It's not on Goodreads though. Their job doesn't really end there. They still have these marketing teams, so they still have to publicize their platform and market themselves in an appealing way. It is basically fun to see Neil mess up everything before Wymack for him to take damage control. Listen, I'm just not in a upbeat mood today. Inviting you all to chill with me together. Hello. So, things that I necessarily didn't like would be Kevin's character. I necessarily don't hate him, but his character just felt flat for me. Even Rico got a bit more meat in his bones, character-wise. I just feel that the author didn't spend that much time on... My mom just came in and I completely lost my train of thought. What is happening? As I was saying, oh right, I didn't like Kevin's character that much. Like even Rico got more page time than him, and his character has been just a little more meat than Kevin himself. With I don't know what to make of him. You know, it's just so bland at the moment. Even as a supposedly major character, we don't spend that much time with him apart from practice, and we didn't even focus with his relationship with other characters. Yeah, it's just not satisfactory, which is what I didn't like, especially since I can only put my hopes in the character arc or the characters themselves to make the story more enjoyable for me, because even though it's essentially a mix of a plot and character driven stories, but as it follows the whole structure, it just doesn't, it gives me a surprise. It just relies on the characters a bit too much to give them factor, you know? Like, building on top of that, the pacing it's fine, but it's just a bit too consistent. at times I just feel like, oh, this is happening and this is happening and then that is happening. But, while I'm enjoying the story, while I'm all invested in it, I just don't feel at the edge of my seat. I'm just breezing through this, even though I would like this to be a very exciting read for me, especially since it's so sport-based and there's aspects of mafia and murder and some mystery with mysterious characters with a terrible past. So I would just expect the book to be a bit more exciting, maybe. It's good, but it just lacks the factor. It just doesn't keep me at the edge of my seat. It doesn't need to be at all times, but whenever you think that this is like some intense scenes, you can predict that, oh, something is coming up. You can just predict that too well. And that's kind of all for my thoughts on The Raven King. And I am assuming this is also wraps up my review. I don't know, I just don't know how to organize this more in a video format when I would have edited it so hard when in the Goodreads review section. Before I finish, I would like to just add a little snippet of The Kingsman. My favorite part. Okay, so I've read it up to 30%, right? So I'm just still gonna add some thoughts. Neil and Andrew. That's it. That's everything. They kissed. They finally kissed. That's a win for the gays, okay? I'm shipping them so hard, oh my goodness. There was this certain time that Andrew's car got trashed because of reasons by the Raven fans, and he was just gaslighting. He was just basically gaslighting Andrew to calm down. And that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I don't know why, but this is just my favorite scene of the whole trilogy up to this point. Some of my friends that I've been updating as I'm reading, they've been telling me that I will hate Aaron, Andrew's twin, and I don't really hate him yet, but we'll see. Something's coming. So that's all for the moment. Oh wait a minute. Something. I'm just kind of fact checking something. Wait up. Andrew gave Neil his keys, the car keys. That's a really big deal for Andrew, not gonna lie. They kissed, they made out, and while Neil was with Kevin watching some XC and analyzing the games of the rivals, Nikki just came up and went out for ice cream, and just basically, Nikki once said that XC just won't be enough at a certain point. If you it's just not enough to live, because when he becomes a superstar, he becomes a rock star, but when he grows old and retires, and there won't be just anything on his life, what about a support network? What about friends? Who can you trust? XC just won't be enough for your life. And that was just the thing that Nikki said. And after Nikki, Andrew just came to the room, and Neil was thinking about that, and he just remembered what Nikki said. Must protect the boys. They're so cute, oh my goodness. It's just something about two broken people, finding solace in one another. And I don't know about Andrew, but Neil, he's thinking about stuff, and I approve. That's kind of about it for now. I've read the webtoon Get Schooled by now, but I don't think I will just bring this thing in here. I'll just review it at a later time after I finish the King's Men, and then yeah, the whole thing is just gonna get there. See ya. Hello, this is 15th December 2021, and I just finished the Kingsman. I just filmed yesterday the Raven King thingy, and I just finished it, and I don't really have anything to add to what I've said before, but I'm just gonna wrap my thoughts up with a blessing of hindsight of finishing the whole series. And let me just tell you, they deserved a novella. Oh, they really did. Spoilers, Andrew and Neil are a thing, and I kinda shipped them, but the thing is that they didn't address what happened in Colombia in book 1. It just never got addressed. That's kind of the only thing that's standing between me and shipping those two hardcore. But I was really enjoying the book, but when you think about it, there are just so many little things just glare at you. You just kind of find it hard to like this. For example, so Nathan happened, Neil's dad. The thing with them was kind of unnecessary. It just felt like it should have happened somewhere in the Raven King, where the climax would have been necessary. It kind of felt like the author forgot about it. It's like it was just so rushed, and it was so unsatisfying. So basically, Neil just got kidnapped by his dad because, but Neil's uncle saved him for some reason, even though he was like supposed to be in Britain. It was just kind of a plot convenience, but I don't really care. The whole thing is fictional, and yeah, it just kind of irked me. But everyone is just like that. Traumatic thing happened, but everyone just moved on so quickly. What's happening? I mean, Neil, there was a lot of focus on Neil's injuries and the whole thing that happened with the FBI and the team, but like, what's happening? At the end, there was just kind of a lot of loose ends that were just kind of tied up really fast, and that just didn't do it for me. But on the romance part, Andrew and Neil, it was really good. As for Andrew's character, I know I'm just kind of rambling, but I don't really have any notes. I'm just sitting here and thinking about it. As for Andrew's character, he was on some sort of drug that helped him with his mental illness, whatever disorder he might be in, even though it doesn't get explained. But characters discuss that he might be sociopathic or psychopathic, but it's never explained or it's never confirmed. And then all of a sudden, when he stops his medicine, and he's just like a well-adjusted person, like he just turns into kind of a bad boys stereotype. That doesn't really make sense. Like, what's up with his... What did we start from? Where are we now? It's just so confusing. Did we come full circle? Did he get better? Or did he get for the worse? Who knows? I don't know. Neither does the author. I don't think the author does either. And also there was this thing where the psychiatrist was bought out and Rico did things, pull some strings. Ooh, but the Rico's ending though. The ending was so unsatisfying. Like, at the heat of the moment, when all the emotions are riled up, like, yes, they won! Spoilers. Or yes, a good ending, or whatever, like, yay! But no, it doesn't really make sense if you just think about it for longer than 10 seconds. All of this, foxes, the thing about the foxes, the center that brought these people together was that quote I mentioned, that if people got what they deserved, then they wouldn't be foxes. So it would have been pretty interesting to see the ending to line up with that narrative. I know I'm evil, but okay, just listen up. That thing would have been kind of satisfying, and it also would have made sense of the point that the writer was trying to make, author. And as for Rico, I don't know how the fans didn't react to Rico just hitting Neil in the stadium, like after the last match, the finals that is. How did that work? Where was the reaction? Where was the public reaction? Like, I got the players' reaction, but didn't anyone boo, or didn't anyone just scream foul or anything? Honestly, even the but I'm just rambling. But yeah, you get it. Like, it was just kind of pushed aside. I just didn't like that. Rico is shown to be a character like us, a manic spoiled brat who throws a fit every time he doesn't get what he wants, and he's willing to hurt everyone on his way to get what he wants. But that really, like, before that ending, we just didn't get his divine punishment or anything, or even like what's happened to his character. And as for Kevin, okay, slow progression. I was complaining that Kevin isn't progressing at all. Like, what's happening to his character? It's just so bland and stagnant. And all of a sudden, he had a few traumatic events in his past, and he reacted to them as a normal person would. But all of a sudden, he just switched 180. Like, his character arc just kind of stretched out through hundreds and hundreds of pages, and it just kind of popped off in just like 20 pages maybe. Like, the ending kind of butchered it. To be honest, I would rather Kevin be like the way that he was from the first time. But yeah, good for him, but his character arc was not handled well. The ending kind of butchered everything, to be honest. Like, yeah, it was a happy ending, and yes, I'm happy for the found family and whatnot, but it just doesn't make any narrative sense to me. So, to wrap this up, wrap this whole trilogy up, if you want to read this, regardless, please check the trigger warnings first of all. The content warnings, there are very graphic things. Like, on the top of my head, there are like strong languages, blood, and sexual abuse, psychological abuse, physical abuse, bullying, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, a lot more. It's a list. If you still want to read this, I would recommend it if you are able to enjoy it. Like, if you just want a light read for me, then yes, I recommend it. But if you just want a story to nitpick or just look through or analyze, then the story just kind of breaks apart. Like, in hindsight, while you're reading it, it can be like the characters are very they attach to you really well, and it can get you all riled up and feeling emotions. But if you have the benefit of hindsight, everything just kind of breaks apart. As for rating, the first book, 2.5 stars, leaning into 3. You know what, I'm just gonna pull it back to 2 stars because, ooh, I'm live rating stuff, okay? I don't have anything. The Raven King is kind of the best book for me because it just showed the most potential. There are a ton of things I liked about The Raven King, and I was super psyched about reading The King's Men, but it kind of disappointed me a lot. But one redeeming factor for The King's Men is that the characterization of Andrew and Neil just happened the most, and there were a lot of emotional or heart-touching scenes that were included in the book. So that kind of, like, while reading, that kind of made it the most interesting to me. The Raven King, my most favorite, Foxhole Court, and The King's Men is a disappointment. So the Foxhole Court 3 stars, The Raven King 4 stars, and The King's Men 2 stars. Okay, with that said, I really want to talk about a webtoon that I've been reading. It's called Get Schooled by this author. It's available on webtoon only. You can't add it on Goodreads Go, unfortunately. Basically, in Korea, the corporal punishment, that is physically hurting students, have been outlawed, and now the students have began to abuse that power to bully the teachers back, and the teachers just can't do anything about it. They kind of like stop studying and everything, and sometimes the students even hit the teachers back and whatnot. Even a false accusation can lead to the teacher losing their career, and once there was a student who beat a teacher to unalive. So Ministry of Education has established a program or an agency, the Teachers Protection Agency or something like TPA. Oh yes, the Teachers Protection Agency. So there is this one DILF who is in charge of like handling these students. Like, if necessary, then this guy has the right to punish the students as he sees fit. As for now, it's basically the journey of this dude's just going from school 1 to school 2 to school 3 and fixing those kids through sometimes violent means. A lot of violence, sometimes blood. He got stabbed once. There are some problematic kids who just kind of start proof, like, with a lot of following. They have made themselves a social hierarchy within the school, and this guy, Huyon, I think, Mr. Na's job is to take this kids back under control. He just kind of brings these schools under control. Case 1 is basically, like, just to give some examples, I'm just keeping it vague. Case 1 is like a politician's kid who's abusing his power as the leader of the pack with his father's connections and blah blah blah. And the second one would be a kid or a bully who just kind of abuses his raw strength or physical strength. And the third agent's school is a girl who, through mental manipulation and like scheming and they're just bullying each of the other students and teachers. Like, these are the cases, and they just kind of depicted a stereotype where they they just kind of showed the girls to be shrewd and manipulative while putting on a like sweet and mature or like just innocent facade. But they were the most dangerous, might add, whereas the guys, they might want to fight it out, but they had to be straightforward and whatnot. I didn't like that thing. Yeah, he kind of beat the students to a pulp, but it was good to see. What I really found interesting about this story was it's very episodic. You just kind of like go to one school and there's this character and you just kind of learn their backstory or what happened at the school, and you just kind of focus on these two characters from within one school, the one who is bullied and the one who bullies, and you just kind of figure out what led them to the point in life that they are in, and what sequences of actions or events that took place to lead them here. Mr. Na just kind of fixes them, and whether or not some of those kids go to jail, sometimes for murder. Oh, by the way, trigger warning for unalive. Self-unalive, might I add. And there's this overarching story of Minister of Education where, honestly, we kind of haven't got there yet, but I'll tell you when I get there. But there is something. There is something. I just know, but I just can't explain it because there aren't enough episodes for me to explain it properly. I think there are 24 or 25 episodes out. 3 of the webtoon and like 3 episodic stories, or like 3 cases, and we're kind of in the middle of the 4th case of a middle school. The 4th case, I'm not gonna get into that, but yeah, it's kind of interesting, and like, listen, who wouldn't? Just read it for Mr. Na. As this is December 15th, while I am recording this video, these videos that are going to come out are obviously, as I mentioned, pre-recorded. Yeah, I have a life apparently. Who thought I was like, why did you call me lifeless in the first video? This is all your fault. Now I have to get a life. I am very thankful for all of you. It kind of means a lot that you would regularly view my ramblings and me making a fool of myself. And thank you to the people who welcomed me into the community. And thank you for the new people who keep watching me for some reason. So, see ya. Oh, by the way, my nickname is Blue on Twitter. I don't think I mentioned this on this channel. So the bookish. Let me just kind of like share a tidbit about me before I go. The channel name Bookish Bullshit is like stolen from Read with Cindy from that thumbnail, because I just didn't know what to do. I'm actually not a very creative person. I just kind of go by Blue because people don't like calling me bookish, and it's kind of weird plus awkward. Yeah, you can call me Blue, I guess. Have a great rest of your day. See you. Smile. And I might die or may not. Anyways, please send thoughts and prayers. Please give me some ideas on what to do with this channel or what videos I should do, because I have nothing going on in here.